And tonight, Inspector General of Police Dr. George Dampare comes under intense backlash as he's been accused of engineering a leaked audio recording containing a private conversation between former Northern Regional Chair of the New Patriotic Party, Bugri Naabu, and a senior police officer, COP Alex Mensah, in which a plot was purportedly flashing out to kick him out of office ahead of the 2024 elections.
Mr. Chairman, my intel suggests that what was used to tape the conversation was done by the current IGP. He sent some people to do it, and after which he went for it.
And today it's been a long day of jaw-breaking revelations unfolding from Parliament's ad hoc committee hearings on the leaked audio, as the IGP, we're learning, could appear before the committee.
It's a likelihood. But I'm saying that as the evidence is evolving and unfolding, there'll be the necessity to bring some people here. And if we have to bring the IGP, we'll do so.
So as it stands now, what's the relationship between the Ghana Police Service, the Army, and the leadership of George Dampare?
It's a likelihood. You see, and it's all gotten to do with how the evidence is evolving. So it's a likelihood. Because the facts we should place before.
And Top Story, as always, is brought to you by Vodafone. Further together, I'm Blessed Soga. And tonight, calls are emerging for the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Dampare, to appear before Parliament's ad hoc committee probing allegations of a purported plot being hatched by former Northern Regional Chairperson of the New Patriotic Party, Bugri Naabu, and COP Alex Mensah, a senior police officer who has disclosed his long-held ambitions of wanting to serve as Ghana's Inspector General of Police. This evening, there are more jaw-dropping revelations unfolding from day 2 of Parliament's hearing on the leaked tape with COP Alex Mensah, a star witness in the ongoing probe, who's accusing George Dampare of turning himself into a dictator at the police service by shutting everybody up, including the Public Affairs Department. Well, he said this leadership style has caused dissatisfaction in the service, a reason for which he is convinced that George Dampare is the worst IGP ever Ghana has had.
You went to see Bugri Naabu to lobby for you to become IGP, to replace Dr. Dampare. Now, why were you interested in replacing Dr. Dampare as the IGP?
Mr. Chair, if you heard me right, Mr. Bugri Naabu told Mr. Sarah that the IGP is likely to be changed and they are looking for a replacement.
Did you find out why Bugri Naabu told you they were looking for a replacement for the current IGP?
Yes, I did.
What did you establish?
What he said was that they want to change him because they don't like the kind of work that he's doing. That's all what he said.
But you have insisted yourself that the current IGP is not managing the police service to your expectation. Now, Commissioner, what would you have done differently?
Yes, I have insisted that he is not managing the service very well. Why? Because now, as we speak, he has shut up the mouth of every police officer, including the Public Affairs Department. Nobody speaks.
And that was COP Alex Mensah, who has been making further revelations. In fact, he's been pointing to a bad blood between the police service and the Ghana Army under the administration of George Akufo Dampare.
That was a conversation, private conversation between me and a senior party member.
Okay. And then, last but one, Speaker 2, on the same page, we should have selected some of our own people to go there so that we work with the party. This is a statement you have confirmed as yours. We should have selected some of our own people to go there so that we work with the party. They go over there, then they know how to do things. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So you wanted your party, the LPP, to select police officers who are perceived to be your members to go and make sure you win the Assembly of violence. Is that not the case?
No, I wanted them to select people they trust who will go there and will not go and cause any confusion and will make sure that whoever wins, wins, but not to go and destroy your strongholds.
So when you say some of our own people, with some I know you are referring to some policemen. And so we're talking about some of our own people. So in the police service, do we have policemen belonging to the MPP and another group belonging to the NDC? Let us understand the issues clearly.
Mr. Chairman, I will not be a hypocrite. We have it. And we have some of our people who resigned within 2 weeks and they went and contested for MPs when they were supposed to have had card-bearing members for 5 years. But they resigned within 2 weeks, they were contesting. I'm not a hypocrite. I'll speak the truth.
So as you speak, our police service is divided along political lines. That's the impression I'm getting, and I believe a lot of people watching are getting the same impression. Is that the case? That we have MPP group in the service, and then we have NDC group.
With the greatest respect, let's have the camera with this. It's okay. It's as you speak now, the Ghana Police Service is divided along party lines. That's a very explosive thing. Yeah, so please, in good time, we can have him in camera.
How do you see this IGP? He will tell you he has been arresting military cars, commanders' cars. Yes, find out yourself. Is this also your statement? This is also from the audio.
Yes, I said it, and I still stand by it.
Then the last one, Alaji, we tell people, you, because I didn't know you, so I cannot just get up and come to you and then tell you this. But those that we know, we tell them perfectly. But when you tell them, they think, oh, Mensah, maybe it is because you wanted to be IGP and they didn't give it to you. That is why. This is also your statement. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I said it.
And then page 7. Page 7 is just a short one. Page 7. The father comes from Krobo and the mother is from Oti region. You know, if you come from the last Speaker 2, is the third one. The third one, the last from the last.
Except of the grueling hours of interrogation of COP Alex Mensah, who's now making further demands, which we'll be pointing out to you shortly. But my colleague Samuel Mbura has been monitoring developments throughout the day. Mbura, we've heard the revelations from the police chief, but what exactly are we able to talk about as to circumstances that led to this very meeting between Daniel Bugri Naabu and COP Alex Mensah?
COP Alex Mensah revealed that his meeting with Daniel Bugri Naabu was through a recommendation by Superintendent George Asari on the back of a scout for a new IGP to replace Akufo Dampare. So according to him, he was convinced to meet Bugri Naabu because of his influence in the party. So he wanted to engage him so that he will be the one lobbying the position for him. But he noticed that his engagement with Bugri Naabu has not brought any advantage by making him trend for the wrong reasons.
And we also know that there's been a back and forth even about the tape itself. The lawyers of COP Alex Mensah coming through to say that some portions of the tape were doctored. Is that off the table now, knowing what the position of the ad hoc committee is?
Well, the committee asked that it should mark the portions on the transcript that were not his voice, that wasn't captured in his voice, so that the committee can interrogate further. So he has marked that and tendered it in as evidence. So the committee will scrutinize that and add it to their report.
And in fact, we're learning that COP Alex Mensah himself is now making fresh allegations as to how he believed this tape was allegedly doctored. And the individual he's mentioning is the Inspector General of Police, who he believes should be summoned before the committee. He explains why.
Yes. Now, this is the final question for the day, and then we'll see how it goes. Commissioner, since you've laid the foundation that the tape is incomplete, do you have the complete tape?
Mr. Chairman, my intel suggests that what was used to tape the conversation was done by the current IGP. He sent some people to do it, and after which he went for it. So the tape, from my intel, is with the IGP, and he caused it to be leaked. So if this committee wants the tape, the right person to call before this committee is the Inspector General of Police.
Commissioner, with the greatest of respect, did you verify what your intel told you, or this is a hearsay? Did you have the ocular proof from what your intel told you? Or this is something that you just believe it could be true?
This is not something that I just believe to be true. But, Mr. Chairman, I wouldn't want to say it here.
And the reason for which COP Alex Mensah believes that he wouldn't want to disclose this borders on matters of national security. So will the IGP be invited to appear before this committee? Samuel Mbura is still with us. And we know that you've been speaking to the chairperson of this ad hoc committee, Samuel Atachia, who has been explaining why the IGP hasn't appeared yet. But are we getting some finality on the matter as to whether or not the IGP will appear?
Well, he has indicated that if the need be, the IGP will be invited for interrogation as the revelations from the probe continue to unfold. He has, however, not indicated when exactly the IGP will appear before the committee. But not only the IGP, I asked him whether if other people of interest, maybe if someone's name comes up in the course of the probe, whether they will invite the person or not. He said the committee will take a decision on that.
It's a likelihood. You see, and it's all gotten to do with how the evidence is evolving. So it's a likelihood. Because the facts we should place before Parliament, the plenary, should not be shoddy. It should not be one-sided. So it's a likelihood.
So is it the case that anyone mentioned in the course of the interrogation will also be invited?
If the presence of the individual will give relevance to the fact-finding exercise, we will do that.
So when are you likely to invite the IGP?
I'm not sure whether we are going to invite the IGP today or tomorrow, but I'm saying that as the evidence is evolving and unfolding, there will be the necessity to bring some people here. And if we have to bring the IGP, we'll do so.
And tonight we're being joined by the ranking member on the Interior and Defence Committee, James Agalga. Also joining us is Professor Kwesi Aning, who's been following the discussions and, of course, the interrogation happening today. Franklin Kujo is with Imani Africa, also joining the conversation tonight on Top Story. Good evening to you, gentlemen. Welcome to the show. I'll start off with you, James Agalga, because you were on that committee today. Of course, heated exchange between yourself and COP Alex Mensah. Just to clear that off the table, do you have anything personal against the embattled COP? Reason for which we are seeing the heated exchanges?
Let me say good evening to Prof and Mr. Franklin Kujo and your listeners. Please, I don't have anything personal against COP Alex Mensah. Not at all. I mean, my conscience is very clear. My approach to the whole investigation is to be fair and just to all the witnesses who would appear before the committee, including COP Alex Mensah. So I mean, let me put that on record. I don't have any problem with COP Alex Mensah.
But then, talking about day 2 of your hearings, would you say that you're convinced finally that you're inching closer and closer to unraveling, first of all, the authenticity of this tape and also the other terms of reference for which the Speaker set up the committee?
Yeah, so far, I would say we have achieved quite a lot, even though we are yet to evaluate the evidence we have so far elicited from the witnesses who have appeared before us. Bugri Naabu was the first to appear, and I'm sure you have been following how the testimony went with respect to Bugri Naabu. He admitted that the leaked tape was recorded by him. So that is one aspect. If that is anything to go by, then, of course, the committee has, to some extent, been able to authenticate the tape going forward. COP Alex Mensah, when he took his turn, also admitted that portions of the tape are genuine, and so we proceeded to try to establish which portions of the audio, in his view, are not genuine. And you notice that is what kept us, for so many hours, because we gave him transcripts of the audio and allowed him, we gave him a lot of space to point out which aspects of the audio, and even the transcripts, when he juxtaposed the two, are not coming from him. He did that. Members of the committee had the opportunity to cross-examine him on some of the things he said, and that is where we are. So far, I would say we have unraveled a lot, but we would be able to make conclusive statements when we sit down as a committee after we have listened to all the witnesses, to do a proper evaluation before we can, determine, what recommendations to make.
Professor Kwesi Aning, are you impressed with the work of the ad hoc committee so far? And what conclusions are you personally drawing from events unfolding now? Aning? Professor Kwesi Aning, are you still with us?
Hello?
We can hear you loud and clear, sir.
Yeah. No, I think it's too early for me to give my assessment of how the investigation or the inquiry is going. I think it's moving as it ought to. There will be heated exchanges. There will be cross-examinations. But one thing that stands out for me is that there was one tape, or there was one recording, and it looks as if that recording has been doctored, or what has been released into the public domain is not the full document, and probably we may need some external forensic audio experts to help us to unravel that. But I think for our democracy, I think it's good that there's been this open, televised exchanges that allows us to really strip away, some of the things that goes behind closed doors. So I think all in all, this strengthens our democracy and helps us to understand where the gaps are and the areas that we need to strengthen.
But Prof, at least there's an admission on the part of the embattled COP Alex Mensah now that this sound, it actually sounds as though he may be the one, and given the fact that he's had several private conversations with Bugri Naabu, he sounds like the one on tape. Technically speaking, are you saying that aside the forensic audit, there's no other way of confirming if indeed that's the entire tape or it's been doctored?
No, so far as he himself has raised questions about some of the voices on that tape, then I think we need an external independent body to authenticate it. What I can say for COP Mensah is that even when the statements have been very seemingly harsh and controversial, he has said very straight ahead, yes, those are my words. Of course, sometimes he's been a little cagey, he's not been straightforward, and he's been very, political. I think it's very obvious. I think let's finish the whole committee sitting. Let's get the whole audio, and then I think we will be able to disaggregate and make much more sort of informed conclusions.
I see. And given the fact that COP Alex Mensah is one of the star witnesses, in fact, he's confessed to having private conversations with Bugri Naabu. Mr. Franklin, the point he makes about the possibility of the tape being doctored, and he's mentioned the name, he's called the name of the IGP as being the one allegedly behind this engineering of the tape. Is this something that we should take seriously?
Really, I mean, the reason for this inquiry is to establish certain facts, whether the voices are authentic, whether some of the comments that have been made can be ascribed to the said persons, the witnesses. And so to a very large extent, they have accepted that most of the comments on the tape are theirs. Well, I can understand that we want to seek forensic experts to find out whether certain aspects of the tape have been doctored. That may well be within the rights of everyone. But for me, I'm struggling to understand what is happening here. This is a gentleman who says that, look, he had nest feelings about being named an IGP. And then because of that, he's had all these, should I call, for lack of a better word, some sort of hatred towards the person of the IGP. Now there's been a leaked audio tape involving him. And then he's making other accusations that the IGP is a very bad leader. He's always at crosshairs with the military establishment. I mean, I'm struggling to understand how I should be admitting some of these comments or commentary from the same person who has harbored deep cynicism and deep hatred for the person of the IGP. Most of all this could be concocted, really, and maybe we should spend time looking into those matters. But for me, I think this matter is pretty straightforward. He's accepted that his voice is on the tape. He made those very serious accusations or allegations, and then the matter for me ends there.
The issue about the possible impact on the police service itself, do you feel that these comments could be far-reaching?
Well, you see, I'm sure Professor Enin will tell you, and I think my good friend Agaga would all be telling you that the police reforms are long overdue. If many people have listened, if the police service or even politicians have listened to the clarion call that the police services should decide on its own leadership, probably through an election process, we probably wouldn't be here. Part of the problem is also the appointment process. One way or the other, someone will be preferred over the other, right? And whether I like it or not, that's the system we are currently operating with. But of course, until we change that particular system, this thing will persist. Even if we elected the person, I'm sure there will be still people who would harbor deep cynicism and hatred against whoever has been appointed. I think we should stay within the matters that have come to the fore, the concoctions, the planning to unseat the IGP. Those are the matters here. Issues around his style of leadership and the fact that he may have adopted the thing. These are red herrings. I mean, I think it's. I really do not want us to stray too much at all. It will be a waste of time inviting the IGP to this type of committee. Please, you serve your time better than rounding up this particular inquiry and then writing a befitting report.
And James Agalga, the modus you adopted as a committee is that when individuals are mentioned, you summon them and ask them questions. You did that to a senior officer who appeared before your committee a couple of days ago. He's thought of these claims, having never met with Bugri Naabu, who mentioned his name. Now you have COP Alex Mensah also naming the IGP as a possible suspect of engineering the tape. What approach are you adopting now as a committee on that? Are you likely to invite him based on what the committee chair say?
Yes. Most likely the IGP would be called because in COP Alex Mensah's concluding statements today, he made a very serious allegation, which allegation pointed to the fact that the IGP engineered the tape. Now, if you listen carefully to Professor Enin's, views, there are, some suggestions that the tape that is before the committee may have been doctored. Or, it is not the full tape. And so if an allegation is made to the effect that the IGP was the one who engineered the recording of the tape and all that, we may most likely want him to appear and clear the air with regards to that kind of allegation. It's very serious. In as much as the terms of reference are very clear, we also don't want a situation whereby, anybody is condemned in the eyes of the public without first and foremost having extended the opportunity for the person to be heard in respect of the very serious allegations that have been made. And so, in line with natural justice, we may just call the IGP to appear and help us navigate around those issues. But it's early days yet. The chairman, in his interaction with the media, was very clear that the proceedings are evolving very quickly. One thing may lead to the other. We don't have an exhaustive list of witnesses, but we would only call witnesses when the evidence adduced by some of the witnesses who may appear makes it compelling for us to invite those who have been named in their testimony.
Okay.
It's not always the case that we will do that.
Grateful for your time. Professor Enin, as we wrap up, how do we unite, the police force, knowing that they serve not just a few individuals, but Ghanaians as well?
Well, the police service, I don't think the allegation about majority against the IGP must be taken with any iota of salt. Any leader in a position of trust and authority, if that person does his or her job well, will make enemies. But I think, let me make this point. The nature of the inconsistencies of the responses and the pent-up anger and aggression in Mr. Mensah, I think it would be necessary to make a series of tests about his state of mind appearing before this committee, because the shifts in the statements and now the accusation about the IGP possibly recording the tape was given to only one individual, has now been doctored, points to certain inconsistencies, and I think it's quite routine in matters of such investigations bordering on an existential issue to the state's stability, that those who are involved are subjected to some psychological test to ensure and assure that the statements are consistent and are usable.
And I'm grateful for your time. And in fact, this conversation is just starting, knowing that this will be topical on Ghana Connect, which is coming up shortly. I'm blessed to log on to myjoyonline.com for more stories. Ghana Connect is next.